What a delicious lunch break.
That was that was a very nice lunch. Hello again, we're back. Were we ever really gone?
For you, no.
We've just taken a brief break. Had a lovely sandwich.
Lovely.
Really, really good. I've got to say, hats off. Hats off to you there.
Thank you. I mean, I tried my best and it came out pretty good.
I do like a good sandwich.
Me too. That's the best food.
But now we're back. We're back, and we're back on the task of completing our director's commentary.
Indeed.
Of the Heavenly Chord.
And we're entering what was originally published as Part 2, the beginning of Part 2.
Now, as you're holding the complete graphic novel in front of you, you'll see that we've inserted a nice little solid black page here as a kind of transition. This is it's both a stylistic thing, because it says, look, bang, now we have a nice break.
In the flow.
But it's also, it's a pagination thing.
It is. It's very true.
What is pagination, Nick?
What is pagination, John?
Well, Nick, I'll tell you. It is basically like when you're building a book, does a page appear on the left or the right?
Absolutely.
And just to keep everything in the right order, we just added a page here. So now we have this double page spread, which is really nothing but a big close-up of Requiem.
And here he is. One of the first proper full-on shots of him I think we've had in the whole story, actually.
In fact, I think in the original script, the preceding image of kind of Zach...
I was going to try and have a pom bear, but I think it's going to be too crinkly.
Crisps on a kind of commentary was maybe not... the
worst idea I've ever had.
You could have a banana.
Oh, yeah, some
marmalade.
Soft munch. Yeah. Anything with a soft munch. I could have eaten Nutella out of the pot. And then there might have been some sloppy sounds.
Could have smeared some Nutella on the mic.
Yeah, no one would know. It's like putting Vaseline on the lens. It would make us sound better.
They do say that in the industry. No,
they do.
Put some Nutella on the mic. But yeah, so not much to say here really, other than I don't believe that this page in the original script, which was one continuous story.
Yeah, this page didn't exist.
It was never a splash.
No.
I think it was maybe like just a panel.
It's a panel, yeah.
But then, of course, we split it into two for reasons. So we could, go easy on you. We could release stuff sooner. And now for the graphic novel, it's being recombined.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's something we would have naturally gone with, but it's ended up being quite
I think it's...
stylish.
I'm glad it went this way. It looks cool.
It's one of those weird things, like not quite through design, more through a combination of accident and happenstance. But no, this is just how it panned out. And so we get a big full-page panel, a splash page, as they say in the industry.
They do say that.
Of Requiem. And he does not seem overly menaced.
He doesn't.
No, he seems very...
He's cocky, sort of, everything's going all right for him.
Slightly put out, I'd say, but not massively so.
Yeah. It's like, there's an army coming for me.
But why is he so outraged, Nick?
Let's find out.
Let's turn the page, Nick.
That's why.
Boom.
There's a giant flaming lion running at him.
Now, this was a good combination of me saying like, I think like this could happen in this scene, and then you kind of running with it and actually making it really cool.
Thank you.
And again, another situation where you played around with the flow, the kind of pacing of the combat scene, because we're a situation where dialogue gets dialed back slightly.
Yes, that's right, because this was one page.
I think it was. A lot happened on this page.
Yeah.
And again, this is me trying to condense stuff.
To make it easier.
but then I guess your true artist soul was like, no, we can't do this. We need to
go big on
We need to stretch it out.
Go big or go home.
We need a bit more space. They do say that.
They do, yeah. Oh. I'm particularly happy with the multiple Zacks in the bottom panel of the first page.
That is a nice little...
I really like that sort of sense of speed that it gives him. And I mean, I loved it in the script when I read runs down Nuriel's arm. To me, that was like Final Fantasy quality ridiculousness. That was amazing. So.
Well, I think panel 2, where we see Nuriel, who is a giant, obviously, punching this tiny figure of Requiem. And I always just figured that, like, Requiem wouldn't bat an eyelid.
No.
Like, wouldn't even flinch and just ping. There's just a nice little bubble around him.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we get this kind of, I would dare say, trademark Nich Angell kind of flare and explosion where, the punch connects and you just get this great big
shockwave of power.
And of course, again with Stocky, Lettera Supreme, he's added these booms in. It has a very nice effect. One of the O's encompasses Requiem perfectly.
Yeah, and is almost his force field bubble.
That is the kind of like subtle language of comics, which he's very good at.
He's very
good at. You wouldn't get it in any other medium, and that's just marvellous.
Yeah, he really embraces the language of comics, I think. Yeah.
I'm sure his ears are burning.
Yeah, they are. I know they are.
So Nuriel looking big, fearsome, kind of glowy. Again, Nick Angell with the glow. Zach runs down his arm, leaps, and then we get this lovely kind of dramatic shot here. Cracking action panel. I love the blurs on both their bodies there.
Yeah. And
also Requiem's pose.
Yeah, more of his sort of trying to be sort of elegant in his dynamism, kind of. Yeah.
Did you find yourself kind of like getting more used to him as the series?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I think actually you'll notice it between parts 1 and 2. There was a big gap actually in time between them. There must have been probably, I don't know, best part of a year.
Again, it's not that you were lazy; it's that you had a lot.
No, had a lot on,
like,
which is why we split the two up.
It's like, comics' hardest working man.
Oh, thank you. But then in that time, I improved. I think because I was doing lots of other work, and also generally because I'm never happy with my work and always trying to improve it. And I think you can see some of the early Requiems. He's not stiff, but his costume is more boxy, I think.
Yeah.
And I sort of learnt his lines better, and I learned the layout of his outfit much better because I have to draw him a lot more in this one. And so I was able to translate a lot more of that ideal gracefulness into his actual body design and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I did definitely get more used to drawing him. And also, what's important about this one is that in part 1, I drew everything consecutively as it appeared, page by page. So I drew page 1, followed by 2, followed by 3. But I did not do that for page 2 because, unlike page 1, I fully thumbnailed part 1. I fully thumbnailed part 2 before entering into it. I've got a creaky chair.
Yeah, but you do have a creaky chair.
I tried to sit a bit differently. There you go. And so I could pick and choose which pages I wanted to do. And as a result, they were out of order. And as a result, I may have... I can't remember, to be honest, what order I drew them in, but I may have clustered some Requiems together to keep that flow going. So, yeah.
Well, again, you see his kind of flowing, I guess almost like coattails there.
Yes.
Again, running with the kind of conductor
theme.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's a great example of kind of motion in comics. A very...
movement through stasis.
Stationary image, and yet it appears to be very alive. I love Requiem's kind of grin. With the bottom panel,
his little fang.
Yeah, like
quite cute.
He just looks so smug.
Yeah,
it's kind of wonderful. As a little backstory to what was going on behind the scenes at this point, certainly for the production of the second half, because we were launching the second part of the book in its original kind of floppy issue format at Melksham Comic Con.
Indeed,
we launched part 1 there in 2013. August 2013, and we launched this one in August 2014.
Right. That's right, yeah.
And it's now November, so it's not a bad turnaround.
No.
We have kind of worked quite hard on this.
Been all right, yeah.
Yeah, you're powering this one out. And to be like a really supportive friend, I disappeared to Canada for a month while you were working on this.
You big poo.
So I was travelling around between like hostels and little...
yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I had like internet, but no files or anything. So
yeah. Every now and then I'd chuck you one that I was particularly happy with, hoping you'd see it. And in the meantime, me and Stocky were just sort of bashing them out.
The weirdest thing for me is I'm something of a control freak. And I think a big change here was this was a truly collaborative project.
Absolutely.
Not something I think either of us had done truly before.
No.
Certainly not I hadn't anyway. And it went as far as I had to learn to let go a bit. Because no, truthfully now, because I'm a control freak. And when it comes to Afterlife Inc., that's okay because it's my baby,
of course,
from the ground up, and I get the final word on it. But here was something which was both of us entirely, and it wouldn't have worked if I'd tried to be a kind of dictator about it because you were bringing as much, if not more, I would say, to the actual look of the book, and I think it's like, and again we kind of, it was the first time we worked together and it ended up going quite well, didn't it?
It did.
It was never like, oh God, you can't do that.
No.
And even if I don't think either of us would have had the authority to tell the other they couldn't do something anyway. But as it just happened, it worked out fine, didn't it? We always really agreed with each other's kind of decisions. So for those hoping for some kind of juicy
gossip,
behind the scene fallout,
I
think it was certainly. I know it was hard work on you to wrap this second part up in time.
And I also I was conscious of it being frustrating for you because I thought, you'd written the whole script in summer 2013, by summer 2013. Actually,
I think it was 2012.
Was it 2012?
I think it was 2012 that I wrote
so,
it.
So you've been sitting on your side of the completed project basically for quite a while, for two and a bit years.
Well, it's the odd balance of time and effort for writers and artists. I think it's a lot of writers can do it all quicker, I think, and get it out of the way, but
artists have that page by page grind, which
I know I don't say this lightly, but I do think it is marginally easier for the writer, I think, because you can just say something. It's like, I get...
You can say, a crowd scene with 50,000 invisible people.
And the other side is going to do, like, perspective and panel layouts and stuff. And I say, like, But conversely, some fun bits of the script were to say, like... Because, again, the script, in terms of writing, was quite conversational sometimes.
Yeah.
So you just get to a panel and just say, Nick, I'm not going to describe this panel, because you'll do it so much better.
You did that in the script. It was things like, I know you'll just let loose sort of thing. I know you'll do a good job of that sort of thing.
Zach is awesome. Do with it what you will.
Do an awesome, please.
But this is pretty awesome. Turning the page. Like these 2 pages a lot.
I'm pretty happy with these actually. Yeah, these are particularly the second page actually. But yes, no, I am happy. I very much I sort of introduced this sort of liquid hot metal effect that Requiem can sort of throw out.
Plasma, like
exactly.
Energy,
yeah. I think you said something like akin to that in the script, and it sort of affected how I drew all of his magic.
I'm trying to remember. I think I said
because it's about that panel with App getting hit, and you said something like spitting and flowing across his muscles or something like that, and that sort of dictated almost everything from then on about how his magic sort of worked. It was like a sort of hot fluid. But I really like that App panel where it's sort of hitting him and splashing across him.
Well, again, I think you played with some of the layout, the panel arrangement and layouts here a bit actually, and it worked really well. But we get this wonderful kind of. I love scenes where you can kind of. It's not chess. It's not quite ballet. It's kind of like there's an arrangement and like a placement to the characters. So here we clearly see that, like. I love that first panel where. There's another great show of energy where Requiem just goes like poor form and just kind of like
bashes him away,
and Zach goes flying, and then we have Lux darting in for this kind of slash down his back, and then she ducks, and you can see how the fight is working.
Yeah, there's a progression in the choreography.
And choreography, that's the word. Yeah, right.
It's not chess.
Captain Thesaurus. It's a bit like chess, a bit like ballet. Oh, choreography. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Someone should come up with a word for that.
And then of course Lux ducks. Requiem fires. It goes off panel. Boom.
Hits App
right in the chest. He takes it. He just kind of takes a hit.
Takes it. Yeah.
Takes it running.
I do like magic sword time. Mush mush. That's
yeah. And again, we're seeing a slightly frazzled Jack here.
Yeah. This is one of the best times I drew Jack. I think I'm really happy with Jack in this panel.
I remember you saying you was especially proud. Would it be true to say that you felt a bit of pressure to kind of like live up to Ash's depiction of him? Yeah.
I every time I had a page with Jack on it, I had your books open around my computer as I was drawing, and usually with Ash's artwork depicting him, because Ash has this incredible ability for his smile, for Jack's smile, his like really cheeky, knowing, witty smile that he has, and it's defined, I think, a lot about Jack, that smile.
It's funny. It has.
Yeah. And I think whenever I picture Jack Fortune in my head, I see Ash's drawing of him, and so I was constantly like, I've got to make it. And a lot of I sort of broke down what Ash does, and a lot of it is in the eyebrows. He does a lot of eyebrow work, I think. He's an eyebrow man.
Are we all?
Oh, well, exactly. Yeah.
He does have impressive eyebrows.
He does.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
But I always liked Jack and Aykroyd's kind of weird little bromance going on, and some subtle little things here. Like the two of them are not fighters; they're just kind of back in the wings. And it's nice to see Jack's feathers get a little bit ruffled.
Yeah, I think that's happening.
He's not in entire control, and also some, dare I say it, buddy cop comedy dialogue there. It's like, you broke it. It's like, I broke it. I barely know which end is the sharp one.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Aykroyd, always with his eyes on the numbers.
Absolutely.
In a time of crisis. Something's happening.
Something's happening. What's happening? Let's
turn
find
the
out.
page.
Boom. These are two of my favourite pages, and are coincidentally the last two I did.
Right.
There
we go.
On the entire book.
The culmination, you might say.
Indeed, for me it was, yeah. It's because they were both panel heavy, and they are also both very effect heavy as well. So I was saving the most work for myself, I should say, till last.
Well, again, we get the on the left-hand side, we get the culmination of Requiem defeating Afterlife Inc's forces.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, this ties into what we were saying earlier. Like, maybe if we had more time, it would have been nice to see like a kind of large scale like
battle.
more of the war orchestra and stuff. But we were only human, and we only had there was a limit to what we could both fit in.
Absolutely, and I think actually we've done pretty well. There is a sense. It's hard for me to say this because as I've often said, I can't sort of see my own artwork after a while. But I still am getting a sense of there's a lot of chaos going on. There's a lot of stuff cracking off.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real sense that they're in the middle of a battle here, even if you can't see the majority of it. So that's quite cool.
I think because we're also going to be releasing this on Comixology.
Yeah.
I think it's something where sometimes the panel by panel transitions can really emphasize certain story beats.
Oh, okay.
Because I think I'm guilty of it. Like I read comics at such a pace, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But like slowing down and focusing on each individual panel. Like I was just looking at these pages again, and like I've seen these pages countless times now.
Sure.
But I'm looking at panel 1 on the page on the left, and we say, Requiem's going like once more with feeling. And it's just an ominous shot of
the aerial.
And I don't think I'd ever really appreciated the sense that that is building. Yeah. Like, that something is kind of like collecting there.
Yeah.
Nice little transition there between close-up of your cool little doodle on Aykroyd's computer.
Oh, yes. Yeah, to sort of reference the same shapes and everything. And like then, that sort of ball that hangs above it with lightning all around it. Yeah. No, I think going back to what you were saying about how quickly you read comics, because I don't read them that fast. And I think it might be a difference between those who are writers and those who are artists, because obviously I do a lot of, when I read comics, I break down how an artist has drawn a panel.
Whereas I'm actually art blind.
Yeah, you only go for the words.
I physically can't see them. Yeah. It's just like a white page with dialogue floating in it. bit like a book, really.
Yeah, I think you'd really like books. You should try them out.
Books.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of put you out of work, really, wouldn't it?
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
In fact, don't. But
sorry, I was being facetious.
Yeah, I know you were. I think because as an artist creating a comic book page, obviously you know how much time has gone into one panel. You sort of return the favour, as it were, when you're reading someone else's comic book, and you're like, I know that panel probably took him a good sort of 20 minutes to half an hour just to draw that.
It is funny, reading a script. The pacing is probably the hardest thing to replicate.
Yeah.
Because in writing like any script, there's at least a paragraph of description, at least for each panel.
Oh, there is, absolutely.
Yeah, my scripts are quite wordy.
Particularly with your stuff, they're really wordy.
And reading,
really
wordy. Yeah, like reading a script is a much slower experience
than reading an actual.
You take half an hour to read a script, and you think like, well, that feels like a very long comic.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the action scenes can go bang, bang, bang. They can happen so quickly.
I mean, you might have a page, which a page of the comic in your script takes 2 A4 pages to describe the 4 panels, say, but there's no dialogue on it because you're just describing the complex action that's taking place in these 4 panels. And then when you actually read that as a comic, you just bash through those panels because it's just action, 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 action. So it's all about the language of comics, which I absolutely love. In fact, I wrote my dissertation on that.
Did you really?
Yes, at university.
I did not know that.
Sequential art.
It's a shame it was it's a shame you're studying physics.
It is, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm particularly I'm definitely not actually an authority. I don't think I know. I think I've got a lot to learn about it. But I wrote about it because it was something that I'm really interested in, and I did learn some stuff just through writing it, I think. But I do definitely see it as its own language. Like the combination of how you lay the text and image together. It's really important.
Well, I really like. It's again, you talk about the language of comics. It's very hard to describe.
Yeah.
But I think for both of us, we couldn't really imagine any other language.
No, it's my favourite language.
Yeah, like
I remember it was interesting. It sort of brought it home to me once when I was showing my dad one of my comics, and he was like, "Oh, I don't really get on with comics because I can't read. I read I can't read them at the same time. So I'll read the text and then I'll go back and I'll look at the pictures.
Yeah,
and I find it very distracting." I haven't learned how to read the two together. And I realised that's really true. There's a way to read both. My eye doesn't go to a speech bubble and then go, okay, now I shall take in the panel, and then I take in the panel, and then I will read the next speech bubble. You don't have that. I just read a page.
Yeah.
Like, my eye just knows what to do, and I take everything in as I go.
And I never feel it feels pure.
Yeah.
Like, I love books. Don't get me wrong, but like,
it's a fantastic method of storytelling.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
It's my lifeblood.
I agree.
But yeah, I would like. It's hard not to feel self-congratulatory here, but I think I do really like the building of tension here. And also, a nice little thing. I like Zach getting absolutely pounded.
Yeah, by a pile of orchestra drones.
Yeah, little kind of violin robots on a single wheel.
Yeah,
very, very nice little design there.
I think that's really the only time you really see that they're sort of unicyclic.
Yeah. Again, you'll probably have to feature them again.
I think I will, just so you can see them better.
But I guess here we get a lovely close-up of Requiem's was it Universal Resonance Aerial?
Yeah.
And most importantly, the keyboard and kind of pipe organ, which is built into it.
Yeah.
So lovely shot of him kind of hunched over. In any other setting, this would be like a lab. This would be the Doom computer. But here it's a keyboard.
Yeah.
And the air is filled with
sparks of musical colour.
Yeah.
If you can say that.
I'm imagining this is a bit like what synesthesia must be like. Like I am seeing music as colours.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course we have a series of lights above the keyboard, and we have 7 lights on the bottom and an 8th one at the top.
Yeah.
Some might even say this is kind of plot.
You might say that, yeah.
Good grief. Plot, yeah. And Requiem's dialogue hints at this. He says, like, my sacred chords, 7 for the melodic gods. What could that mean? And 1, the heavenly chord, for a world beyond death.
Indeed.
So that kind of harks back to our first meeting, actually. And I remember one of the first things you showed me was
a double-page spread in track 2, I believe, on volume 1 of 7 String,
depicting the various gods of Melodia.
Indeed.
And this was an idea I loved, an idea which has stuck with me ever since. And I think clearly that informed this crossover, because I was like, in some way we have to feature them.
Yeah.
And
if we turn over the page.
And we turn the page.
We do feature them.
Great big splash page here.
And your world at the centre.
We have the Imperium, the Great Golden City of the Dead. A lovely rendition there.
Thank you.
I have to say.
I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. Was that hard to draw?
Yes. And again, it was very much like, like drawing Jack. I've got to step up and I've got to draw your world. That was quite a big deal. And I'm very happy with it. I'm actually very happy with it. It took a very long time to draw it.
I can imagine.
Yeah. It was a big one.
Well, I like it.
Thank you.
I think you did it justice.
Thank you very much.
Of course, a lovely splash page here. We have the Empyrean, this strange construct floating in the endless white void. We have the energy of the 7 melodic gods and their chords blasting out, accompanied by this 8th chord, this heavenly chord, if you will, exploding out of the Empyrean. And in the background, we have several ghostly figures.
We do.
Kind of appearing. So, of course, the melodic gods
of Melodia.
And each of which represents a
different genre of music.
A different genre of music.
Yeah, so we've got the fellow who's got a sort of wooden plate and noodles for hair.
Very cool. I like him, yeah.
He's rock.
Rock.
The sort of green, long-snouted dude, he's very noble and up himself. He's classical. The golden lady is opera.
Nice.
The very bottom left corner, you can't really see it. It looks like a sphere with 2 visors, but that's hip-hop.
Nice, yeah.
The sort of trumpet end is jazz. The tuning fork head is folk. And the little sort of 4-coloured disc head thing is electro.
It looks a bit like a boppet.
Yeah, he's actually modelled on my it's this one on my printer. Which you can just see here. You listening can't see it.
Listening at home, Nick is turning around and poking an old printer.
Yeah, and the button layout actually is similar to Electro's face.
It's very cool. I like him a lot actually in terms of design, because he has a completely inhuman face. It's just a disc, and yet you can infer character.
But on all of those, you can see their sort of full bodies in 7 String Volume 1.
That lovely spread, yeah.
Which I'm quite happy with.
So there's your Pantheon.
That's mine.
And then at the other corner of the screen, we have a mysterious shape.
Stone wheel, it looks like.
Which...
What's this, John?
Has, I do not believe, ever properly been named within the pages of Afterlife Inc. And I think I'm going to keep it that way as of today. But
do keep it mysterious. I know a bit, but
if anyone at home has read Afterlife Inc. Volume 3, Lifeblood, they may well recognise that shape.
Yes.
So a page rich in symbolism and portents, and yeah, there's a lot to reward repeat readings, I think, and maybe cross-referencing.
Yeah,
check out the other books.
when we've written some more of other things, come back to Heavenly Chord, because there's little nods in there.
It's not all random.
It's not.
There's always been a plan here. We're building junk.
Oh heck yes.
But anyway, across the page we have, I guess, worldwide reaction shots.
Yes.
So we show that the effect of Requiem's madness is not purely localized to our main characters. We see some other residents of the Imperium, people looking up to the skies in fear, because this is not a peaceful afterlife and crazy stuff happens nearly every week.
All the time.
So something is exploding in the sky.
Yeah.
We then cut to Temperance Jones, sitting on a hill.
Brilliant character.
Who has yet to have his chance to shine. But that's only because, as mentioned previously in the commentary, I've kind of been sidetracked over the last few years into telling side stories.
Indeed.
But believe you me, Temperance Jones is a very major character.
He's going to get his time to shine.
In fact, laying some groundwork for book 4 of Afterlife Inc. at the moment. And we are going to really start telling those big stories and focusing on the main board members, who are our main cast.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so we have Temperance just having
trouble brewing,
chilling with his brother down in the hellish region of the Imperium,
on the side of what looks like a volcano.
Yeah,
I like that.
Just chilling, having some beer, some mana. And then we see App and Lux, I guess, last seen getting beaten up
in the midst of a great rainbow sort of wind.
And I wanted this to be a subtle little thing where App kind of just cocks his head and he's like, Mr. Fortune, because primarily App is Jack's bodyguard. He moonlights as one of Lux's sort of special agents,
soldiers. Yeah,
but and he's a very powerful figure in his own right. But yeah, if you have a very important figure like Jack, who is incredibly frustrating but is kind of essential,
always walking into danger.
Yep. But you kind of need him to kind of keep the balance of power. So you put your most powerful soldier as his bodyguard. Absolutely. So App is very worried. Something is happening off screen.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we see this lovely portal, as rendered by Nich,
with what looks like a blue sky.
Blue sky.
Yeah. On the other side.
Finally, some relief from drawing the void.
Jeez, now I get to draw a sky. Although that said, in the panel above of Hell, we can obviously see some colourful sky.
There's a lot of clouds and colours.
Yeah.
So we turn that page.
And we get to go to Melodia.
Ta-da!
Hooray!
We don't see a lot of Melodia.
We don't.
Sadly.
No, this is the only bit we see, and this is the character Net, who is get a bit more of her story in Volume 2 actually, but she's introduced in Volume 1. There are a lot of sort of in 7 String. It's like a cast of characters, and they're all sort of building up to an eventual potential meet-up. Not to ruin it. And so Net is a girl who thinks she has no song. She doesn't have an instrument. She doesn't have anything she can play, and lives up in the mountains in a sort of monastery. And so is seen here looking up with fear at the sky and realizing that actually I can see into another universe there.
And there's something coming towards us.
Yeah,
which is not good.
That's not look good at all.
I love the crack in the sky.
By
the way, that's a very nice effect. Like the sky is physically breaking.
Yeah. I wanted to really look like we were looking through into another world. The worry I had was it would look like the Empyrean, surrounded by a white disc or a bubble hanging in the air
energy,
of Melodia. Yeah, I really need to get across the sense that we were looking through something, through a window into something else, and I figured a crack would sort of tell us that.
The more I look at that actual image, the more rewarding it is. Actually, I was just looking at that crack again. That's very very nice. It does. And again, like we've had characters jumping, but this is kind of like significant in itself because it's literally like we are tearing, if not a fourth wall, but the magical fifth wall between yours and my comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's metaphorical, but boom, there it is. Literally, our characters are overlapping.
It's very cool.
It's staggering, really. You kind of like you get used to it after a while. Sometimes it just hits you. Like
we've actually done quite a big thing here.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. But then at the same time, Requiem takes the moment to
withdraw
gloat
for a bit. Yeah, basically gloat. Goes back to his floating mountain fortress and hangs out with his orchestra chums, leaving a severely battered Jack and Aykroyd. Aykroyd?
Aykroyd. I love Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd should meet Aykroyd, actually. Dan Aykroyd.
That's his first name.
Oh, right, yeah. I
It's
just
not.
wonder. And, I'm really happy with that panel. That sort of slight sort of upward perspective. And, yeah.
And, of course, the inference here, of course, is that we last saw Jack and Aykroyd with a storm of orchestra running towards him.
Mm.
And then we just see the aftermath. And
They've handled it.
So App has basically had to regulate in between panels. He had no option but to regulate, and he's now holding the remains of a orchestra. And I guess you could say this is the end of Act 2.
Yeah.
This is our Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, it is.
The characters are at their lowest ebb.
Yeah.
Things do look pretty bleak.
Things can only go up from here, surely. Hopefully.
So we turn that page,
and boom. This was a page I was particularly happy with.
This was beautiful.
And it ended up being used as the cover to part 2, which was a floppy, which was cool. And yeah, this scene when you wrote it in the script and I came across it, I was just like, this is very, very cool. And it was also John taking some liberties, but I liked it. It was basically the idea that 7 string didn't work.
Yes, of course,
in this world, because of course Zach's from a universe where all the laws of physics are fundamentally based on music. And so if he goes to a universe which isn't, then surely his sword, which is designed to use musical energy, is not going to work anymore.
Because we failed to comment on it earlier.
Indeed, but of course we see him go up against Requiem and basically do nothing.
The 7 string just becomes a hunk of metal.
And goes fizz, and that's it. It's just a blade. But the power in it comes from the music. And so John had this idea, fused with wanting to bring the tuner in, that he needed to retune to this new universe and find a new power source that it could use instead of music. And that is, of course, the power source of the dead, the sort of fuel, as it were,
mana, if you will.
Yeah, and so we get this shot on the next page of the sort of the mana, the blue glow, sort of seeping up into the tuner's world.
This is sorry to interrupt, but this is actually my favourite page in the entire book. Weirdly, it's got nothing to do with any of the main characters, but I just think you nailed this page. This looks incredible.
I'm very happy with it, actually. I really like the sense of space within the 7 string that the tuner lives in.
So to anyone who maybe doesn't know what's going on here.
Yeah, the tuner is someone who lives within the sword, within the 7 string. The 7 string obviously doesn't have an echo box like a guitar does, like an acoustic guitar. So instead, in that disc, that circular hole that the strings run across on the blade is actually a sort of window into a sort of pocket universe, pocket dimension, which is where the strings are able to resonate within and create the powerful, all-encompassing sound that the 7 string generates whenever Zach plays it. It doesn't require an amplifier, it doesn't require anything, because it's got this huge space to resonate in and then come out. But another story that I may eventually tell one day tells the story of how the tuner gets trapped in this space when he was first tuning the 7 string, when it was first being made. And so he's lived his whole life in there. He's hundreds of years old.
He's kind of like a genie in a bottle,
basically. Yeah, exactly. And his job is partly to sort of monitor the tuning of whoever's wielding the 7 string, like whether they're sharp or flat, and to make sure they can stay on the natural road and therefore be at balance with all of their emotions and powers and everything. But he also just sort of maintains it from a sort of internal TARDIS-like perspective.
Well, it's nice that Zach, in many ways, does kind of have like a little mentor he can carry around with him as well.
Kind of like Link with a fairy or the Doctor with a companion. It's kind of like that, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess the weirdest thing here, and I guess I was taking some liberties, is that, of course, we'd only seen the tuner very briefly in book 1.
We had, and it's a couple of pages.
At the time of recording, you're currently funding and have successfully funded the kickstarted book 2. So we're going to see more of Zach's adventures.
Indeed,
and
we are.
As a fan of the series, I can't wait. But this is me kind of assuming that, like, and we discussed this, obviously.
We did, of course.
I didn't just dive in. And,
No. You said, is it okay if I do some fairly big sort of engineering on the inside of the 7 string? And I absolutely loved the idea, because you kind of introduced his role here of sort of working with levers and switches and things on the inside. That wasn't ever something I particularly thought about.
I just love the concept.
I sort of thought that he was in there doing something, but I never really thought about what it was. And for you to come up with this sort of switches and being able to utilise this new power source and activate the 7 string with a new power source, I thought was so cool.
This is just so comics.
Yes, it really is.
I think this is why this is why it's my favourite page, because this is probably, I'd go as far as to say, the highest concept page in the entire book. It's just, you couldn't get it in any other medium. It's just so gloriously stupid and wonderful.
It's wacky, isn't it? And crazy.
It's pure wonder.
Yeah.
It's like, and I love the dialogue. The dialogue was an
I
absolute
really liked the
dream
dialogue,
to write. I thought a little bit moving, and I think if there is a message, again, it sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but I enjoyed writing it so much.
It's got Fish's line as well.
Yeah,
Glob.
He looks worried, bless him.
He does.
And I love the idea that he's got a little bit cabin fever, and like, you know, he's been in there so long, he does like talking to his fish.
I think he probably would.
Yeah.
And everything about it fitted in with what little I'd already thought about the tuner, but it sort of added, in many ways, like coming up with the tuning fork and adding to my mythology. This did exactly the same thing. Like it sort of added some real flavour and character to someone who, as of yet, I hadn't actually sort of thought much more about. And maybe this is the best way for a character to grow, is for you to let go a little bit and let someone else, you know, mould that putty.
Something about him just reached out to me. I thought it was one of the coolest concepts in track 1 of Themistring, or volume 1 now, and I love that he's so inhuman in appearance, but not scary in any way. He's weird, but I love how, as he doesn't have a traditionally human face, we plant a personality over him.
Yeah.
We give him a personality based on his actions.
Yeah.
So his actions and his dialogue define who he is, not his appearance. And I just he had a very clear voice. He always seemed he helped Zach.
Was he easy to write for?
God, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I love this to bits. And it was, I love little hidden meanings, and like having every line having a kind of double meaning if you read
like
into it a bit too much. Yeah, and it's just like, he said, I love that, like a last proud echo of something lost. And then it goes in panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you get the entire message of the entire comic.
Yeah.
Basically. Even the soloist
can use some accompaniment every now and then.
And I love that line as well, like, these seem like good people.
Yeah, I like that. It's almost like Zach was still unsure, and he needed someone who he trusted to tell him that everything was he's on the right path, it's gonna be okay.
Well, you look at the tuner's entire his entire life is defined, well, I mean, in the comics at least, the very first thing he does is help Zach. Zach is at his lowest point, and the first thing he does is help him.
Yeah.
And I think I just told you everything you need to know about the character.
Oh, well.
It's lovely. It really is. And it's something that gets me emotional is people finding humanity and kind of friendship in the hardest moments. And I think this really is like the end of the world, and always feels that way. And the tuner takes a moment just to say, these are good people.
I think this whole scene is that, you know, in the middle of this great battle, Zach sat down, you know, in Shehekim and is having a jam session. You know what I mean? Like, but it's brilliant, as you've written, calm within the storm. It's exactly what it is. It's this moment where, you know, he's gonna power up for the awesome inevitable coolness.
One of my former colleagues at a previous job utterly loved Angell.
He's great. He's really great.
Angell just blew his mind, and it was actually, I can name him Mike, thank you if you're listening, who Mike is a didgeridooer.
Yes, I remember you saying.
He has a fine collection of didgeridoos, and he
didgeridooist
found the visual reference for Angell's didgeridoo,
which you included in the script, I remember.
Yeah, which
I used it very closely,
and it literally is a hollowed out branch.
Yeah,
and Angell is the oldest, most powerful being left on the Empyrean,
and obsessed and connected to the natural world. So it makes sense that he would play an instrument like that.
And it's just nice to get him in the story.
Really cool.
And there you go. And just as you know, having a jam.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So turn that page.
Turn it. Boom.
So I think from my favourite page in the entire book, not to my least,
that's where you're going.
To probably one of the coolest panels.
I'm very happy with this panel.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Like we have Zach. I mean, this was a hard panel to write. I basically said, look, Zach strikes a chord.
You wrote something like, go crazy, have fun, do what you want, do your thing, sort of thing, which was very nice. And I sort of read it in a script and I was like, no, I need to step up for this. Like, this is going to be cool. This is going to be really, really good. And quite often when you put that sort of pressure on yourself for a particular drawing to be good, it turns out not being. But I feel like, I got exactly what I wanted out of this. And then Stocky added to it brilliantly.
Oh my god!
With the addition of that sound effect, which is so cool.
Seamlessly integrated with the artwork.
And again, with the same glow level and everything that I had applied to the sword. So, and of course now the sword's channeling a blue mana.
Ah, yes,
rather
of course.
than the green that it classically channels on Melodia.
I didn't even notice that.
That was very, very intentional, actually. So that's evidence of how the comic can keep giving. It's just given to you.
That's very nice. I love dialogue between people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best kind of dialogue between people.
Yes, because otherwise it's a monologue, John.
It's a monologue, yeah. Dialogue generally means two, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
dialogue,
the definition.
Yeah. Trialogue.
But well done on being a writer.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing really well.
John Q. Thesaurus over here. Yeah.
But this is some great writing with Hippie Jam Fest 2000
thank
is
you.
officially over.
That's what I was fishing for, basically.
I know. I was getting there. Geez, give me a chance, kind of thing. But no, I like the very end as well. So you're in a band.
Tying into my earlier thing about just like a love of little moments of humanity in crazy moments, and like again, it sounds like I am just patting my own back monstrously now. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, never stop touching me. But I love the little dialogue between Elizabeth and Jack. Just little moments, and Jack's like, take your time. It's only the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we see Aykroyd tinkering with Requiem's universal resonance aerial because, like all good supervillains, he left his weapon behind. Because some
might say it's convenient.
Because when a character's crazy, you don't have to justify their actions.
Exactly. No, all villains should be crazy for that exact reason.
Worth pointing out that, of course, Zack and Angell have a little bit of dialogue here, and Zack thanks Angell for his help.
Yes.
Angell has been notably antisocial throughout the entire series, and you're not him.
Trust me, that goes a long way in your favour. I like that a lot. I like the idea that Jack has been working with Angell for potentially years.
Yes. And
they still don't get on.
And
Zack's been here for 5 minutes and they're friends. And I can also imagine that of all the people, like, although Zack and Jack, so I think they do bond over this event. I wouldn't necessarily they came out being friends or someone that, like, I think Zack could call on Jack maybe in the future. We maybe discuss the idea of there being another crossover. But I think Zack sees something in Angell from your script. I get the feeling that they've sort of bonded on a different level.
They have jammed together.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's
and obviously that's Zack's language. Like music is everything to him. So I can imagine Zack sort of next time he comes back to the Imperium, sort of pushing past Jack and going straight to Angell and giving him a hug. Do you know what I mean? Good to see you, mate. Oh, it's also good to see you too, Jack. Kind of thing. And Jack would be
that is a very good point.
Typically disgruntled, but also over it so quickly. I think that'd be quite funny.
I guess Angell is a being that deals with energy and he's very in tune with his world. And I think it's a nice parallel there.
Yeah, it's good.
I like to think Zack was the younger kid. Yeah, and I think he's at the beginning of his journey.
Absolutely.
In Seven String. And I think, I love how, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler when we say that, like, you have worked this encounter into Zack's ongoing adventures. So, I'd like to think he took something away from this.
Yeah.
Which proved useful.
He did. Yeah. No, he definitely did, actually. I can tell you for sure that he did.
So then we have the plot so far.
Yes.
Literally.
Told by radio broadcast.
To the world.
To the world of Imperium.
Yeah. Again, I love... So many times I feel I'm not actually in control of what the characters say. They're just... They've established themselves so well that you know what they're going to do. They have their little voice, but I love... Probably one of my favourite panels... Another one of my favourite panels is simply people gathered around a wireless and you can't see Jack or Aykroyd, but you just have Jack handing over to Aykroyd.
Thankfully, Afterlife Inc has a plan. Mr. Aykroyd?
Thank you, sir. It's just... it's needless kind of ceremony there. Yeah. It is the end of the world, I would point out.
But he still thanks him.
Yeah. So then we have our whole plot here, which is... I would say ripped shamelessly from many instances where counter signals have been used, but as Aykroyd sums it up nicely, Requiem has harnessed the chords, which the vibrations, if you will, which sang two worlds into being.
Absolutely.
And is now playing them all simultaneously, thus bringing the Empyrean and Melodia into the same space.
Direct collision.
Which will just blow them both up. And reason why? He's insane.
Yeah.
Basically, we glossed over some of Requiem's dialogue earlier, but I think we touched upon it in a second actually. But
I think we did.
He basically just explains that to him, this is all this grand.
This is a big final symphony. This is his great artwork. This is a great project. He's doing it just for that reason.
A symphony of music and death. He is going to destroy two worlds just in the name of art. So basically, he is playing all these chords simultaneously. Mm-hmm. But as any scientician will tell you. If you play the corresponding anti-wave, you can silence any noise.
Absolutely. And then we turn over.
We turn the page.
to what I like to call the montage sequence.
Oh, this is cool.
This is very cool. And this is the point where I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure they will, that people start to realise it's building up to something pretty cool, because that's the point of it. And it's sort of all overlaid with Requiem's pompous speech, but you see everyone getting ready.
Yeah.
In the coolest possible way.
This is our. If you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, this is our cherry bomb moment. This is everyone getting dressed, readying their weapons, and Aykroyd is getting dressed.
Mm-hmm.
I like messing. We've done a lot of variations on the standard suit idea. So now we have Aykroyd wearing a
pianist outfit.
A pianist outfit, yeah, a variation on the classical Afterlife Inc suit. Zack is powering up.
Yeah, plugging in, it would seem, something to the 7-string.
The stakes are getting higher. We see the Empyrean drawing very close to the hole.
Portal. Yeah.
Aykroyd climbing the stairs, and I like the weird little parallel between the dialogue and the artwork.
Yes,
of course.
Yes.
Requiem is merely. I mean, if you look at the page on the left where Requiem starts his monologue, is basically describing the whole crossover.
Yeah.
This is shamelessly the plot. This is actually what is actually going on here. For those who haven't picked it up yet,
here we go.
A meeting of the worlds. Requiem spells it out. Tell, don't show.
Absolutely.
And then of course what happens next will be beyond compare.
Yeah.
And
App turns up to 11.
He's little Spinal Tap reference.
Absolutely,
there.
It's got to be there.
Aykroyd cracking his knuckles, although he has
many knuckles.
Or no knuckles, you might say, and just many.
He either has infinite knuckles or no knuckles.
Or no fingers either. The exact person you'd want playing a piano, though.
Absolutely, he'd be amazing at it.
Thousands of things.
And then the inevitable question for who can possibly stop me now.
That is that classic supervillain.
It's great.
You're asking for it.
It really is, yeah, it's perfect. And then, so obviously we're set up. And so you turn the page, and you had to ask.
And it's just, yeah.
I remember you wrote this in a script, and it was sort of like the ultimate band is assembled. And you actually hadn't put Jack in it.
No, I don't think I had.
So I added Jack with a tuning fork, just like as though he's like, just making sure they're all in the right key.
It's another weird little thing here is that like earlier we saw Aykroyd tinkering. He was rewiring the aerial.
Indeed.
And it's not something I'd ever planned for the character. We
Okay.
talk about like the weird evolution of characters, but like over the course of like the Afterlife Inc books,
he's become an engineer.
we've often seen Aykroyd been quite a dab hand at fixing things. It's like
fixing technology you can't possibly understand.
Yeah, it's not something that ever really came up, but yeah, he just seems to know when to flick a switch a lot. Now you expanding this. This wasn't. This was another situation where I think this was a splash.
Yeah, the left-hand page was a splash, but then the subsequent pages were all on one. The subsequent 2 pages were all on one page.
I believe they were. Yeah.
Yeah. So this next page with Zack playing the guitar a sword at the top and App flexing his muscles were 2 panels.
They were indeed
of a 4-panel page.
You made it into this kind of wonderful montage.
Indeed, yeah. There's sort of like sort of combo splash thing.
And it's a very subtle thing, but of course you see blue energy racing down the wire from
Zack's guitar.
Guitar.
Yeah.
Yellow energy crackling around the keyboard.
Yeah, and then it both entering into App. Yeah, I sort of wanted to give them sort of distinct energy colours, as it were.
This was always meant to be like Aykroyd generating the chord,
mm-hmm.
Zack refining it,
mm-hmm.
playing it, and then we're using App as the amplifier, basically, to boost it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, should we turn that page?
Let's turn the page.
Let's turn that page.
Boom.
It just like searing your eyeballs. Just white hot energy blasting across the page. And it was you who pointed out, I think the script originally called for the energy to burst out of the aerial.
Out of the aerial, that's right, yeah.
And you quite rightly said it would look much better.
It would be cooler if App fired the beam out of his visor.
App is literally the...
So then it really was the 3 of them working together, in the purest sense of it.
And this is another classic crossover territory, where after the confrontation, the heroes now combine their powers in weird and unusual ways.
So Zack has fought with App extensively, and essentially Aykroyd as well. And now they're all teamed up together to combine their ineffable power into the...
There's also some foreshadowing earlier, because App does indeed sample and return.
Indeed he does, that's very true.
Zack's power. Why do I keep getting their names mixed up? They're very different. And then, of course, we see this white-hot anti-chord
hurtle out and hit the portal square on.
And I love that kind of back flow.
Yeah.
Flames and energy kind of shooting.
Yeah, it was it's often very easy to overwork something like this. And you can sort of put too many particle effects and too many glows. You know, I'm a man who likes his glows.
You do like
a
bit of glow.
I've become rather famous, if not for anything else, for glows.
Infamous, you might say.
In the indie scene,
yeah.
I think. People have often referred to Nich as the guy who does all the glows.
Black market glows.
Indeed. And so, but even saying that, like you can. There's probably about 10 layers there of artwork that are all sort of different glow layers and different colours. And
not to mention the deep metaphorical layers.
It's like an onion. This comic is just I don't make you cry in the same way as well. But yeah, and it's so easy to just like pile it on so you can't see what's going on anymore. So I had to hold myself back with a scene that you basically again described as Nich go insane.
Yeah.
I could have very easily gone batshit crazy.
So you heard it here direct from a horse's mouth. This is Nich Angell restrained.
This is I'm pulling my punches here. Can't you tell?
Oh my life. And then another little shot. The following page. You can see kind of Eye of the Storm, the kind of like
clash across the Empyrean of the lightning and everything.
And we get to see Lux being
commander on the battlefront.
Typically practical.
Yep.
It's like stuff is blowing up, and of course someone has to take charge.
This panel of Zach playing, I remember you wrote in a script like he's got to look like a furious like soloist of an amazing musical proportion kind of thing.
This is kind of like this is Brian May on top of Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, exactly. This has got to be badass kind of thing. So yeah, I had this idea of these arcs of sort of light as though his arms are moving so fast. Why they'd move that much, I don't. You don't ask that.
It kind of looks like he's furious. Yeah, like furiously kind of like finger tapping.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
Caught in this kind of ion storm of music,
light and energy and music. Yeah, and then you see the portal start to collapse,
which is good.
Which is hard. It was very hard.
Yeah, how do you visualise
exactly, yeah. Some of the concepts you throw around in this script are insane. Like, right now, Nich, I want, obviously, a huge scale. The Empyrean is falling towards a vast portal hovering in a white void, and then I want it to look like it's collapsing in.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks, John. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, easy.
I'll just get on that, shall I?
Yeah. And chop, Nich. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it starts to shrink, and we, in the final panel, we see it kind of wobbling. The hole is losing its form, and we see the Kolopati mountain.
Yes.
Top Requiem's floating fortress
float past in front.
Silhouetted, and someone is not happy.
Someone is. Yeah, I wonder who that could be.
We'll turn that page, Nich, and
Boom.
find out.
Oh, that's who. Requiem is not happy about this.
And as Lucy pointed out, my lovely other half, Lucy, she pointed out that she loves how Requiem turns into a massive hipster at the end, basically.
Basically, yeah, you don't understand. I like their first album.
Yeah, basically, he's having
having a temper tantrum.
He's having a temper tantrum. Yeah, it's the first time we've seen him lose his cool.
Yeah.
So things are not going his way, basically.
Which is good. I like that.
And of course, he looks straight up the page and goes, "You're only jealous because you can't appreciate this as deeply as I do."
Very emo.
Yeah. He's not happy, basically.
He's not.
And now here we have a scene which is probably, I'd say, one of the first moments that kind of thought of. Like, we had to have this. Oh, I can't even remember where I originally. There's a terminology of like I've always loved. One of my favourite stories of all time, and I have to lend it to you, is Grant Morrison's final book of JLA, his run on JLA,
okay.
World War III.
Right.
And it's this massive, sprawling, massive cast of characters, wrapping up of storylines which have been going for like 5 years or so. And there's this beautiful moment where it does really seem like the world is ending. And Green Lantern and Flash. So for those geeks out there, because I imagine there's a few, there's two in this room, this is Wally West.
Yep.
So the third Flash,
okay.
I believe.
Take your word for that.
And Kyle Rayner.
Okay, yeah, the artist lantern.
Fifth Flash. Fifth Green Lantern.
Fifth counting Alan, what's his face?
Alan, yes, that guy. And they have this beautiful moment where it does really seem like the world is ending. Green Lantern has lost control of his ring. He's regained that power. People are dying all around. And there's this beautiful moment where Green Lantern walks down the steps of the Justice League embassy and the sky's on fire. And you see Wally, the Flash. And the two of them have this antagonistic relationship. They're the two new young guys living up to the previous legacy. And they have this beautiful moment where they talk about, and Wally just says something like, "Oh, it's always this way, isn't it? Like, getting like half a conversation on the stairway while the world's ending." It's just like, and that's this moment.
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful moment where like it's like everything's going to hell, but you always have that moment where two guys meet and they've each gained a new appreciation of each other.
And I think I really like this conversation because it draws on Zach's sort of driving force, which is the death of his mother. And the idea that he's, come to terms with the fact that this place is an afterlife, this is where the dead are, and he sort of maybe hoped that she would be here, but she isn't, and that therefore Melodia maybe has its own, every world, every universe maybe has its own afterlife, and this is just one. And then that ships in the night Zach worlds apart. I really like that. That's really nice. It's a real sort of, it's a real spike of real sort of melancholy human emotion. It's also the only time that Zach smiles. Actually, he might smile again in this, but he has never smiled under my pen. Well, this is my pen.
And never again.
Yeah, exactly. Zach is famously a grumpy bastard. And yet, maybe with good reason, granted.
But it's this nice thing. It's two characters who, if the fates had been a little different, would never have met.
No, never at all.
Would never have met, and it's like...
And they're not alike at all.
But they've gained an appreciation, and the fact is that Jack makes Zach smile.
Yeah.
And it's kind of saying something. It's like the first time... Because Jack is full of crap.
Of course he is.
He's a massive chancellor, but there's a little kind of ingot of truth in what he says.
No, there is absolutely. He's unintentionally wise, I think, sometimes. Some of the stuff he comes out with, although he doesn't plan it to be, he is actually a bit of a philosopher in his own sort of way.
Because that first panel when he goes on about two desperate heroes, two heroes, a desperate battle, a soundtrack to die for, instant mythology. That's just pure Jack showmanship. He's just spouting nonsense, basically.
He's not thinking about what he's saying.
But you see, there's a little, and again, it's in the artwork. I love that subtle little look that Zach gives him, and you tell Zach's ribbing him.
Yeah,
he's giving him a bit of he's giving him a bit of a nudge.
I thought you said earlier that you weren't.
Bit of sadness, and I think the other sad thing about this is that they are ships in the night, and these characters are now going to part ways,
and there's a good chance they'll never see each other again.
No, I mean you and I, we have plans which are spiraling out of the Heavenly Chord, but as far as these two guys know, and who knows, it could be true, they may never see each other again, and it's like that's always sad, isn't it? You meet a lot of people going in and out of different aspects of your life, and you take what you can from those encounters, and they've both learned something. Jack got to be in the presence of a true hero, actually, and I think he recognised that.
Yeah, I think he did.
And I think we'd always talked about that
the card,
the passing of the card.
Yeah,
and it's
that was another one of those poignant moments that the sort of whole story was written around, and I like the idea that Zach would take the card on the off chance that he can give it to someone in his afterlife.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of sad, and we were very keen that this story be canon.
Absolutely.
This does happen. This is volume 2.5 of Afterlife Inc.
And volume 1.5, the 7th string.
This is so in canon.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And we didn't want it to be forgotten.
Not at all.
And so artifacts pass between worlds. Like a card is given to Zach.
Absolutely.
So yeah, sad but sweet. And that is the story in a nutshell, really. I love that moment. As much as I love the explosions, the high action concept, that I'd trade it all just for
I really liked that moment.
A moment like that.
Definitely.
That's beautiful.
So turning the page.
So there we go. And now we get that famous callback
Yep.
to the earlier line. It's and Zach gets to crack a funny.
Your line is on fire. I automatically trust your judgment.
And there we go.
Brilliant. And he is hurled by Nuriel off of the Empyrean.
Fastball special.
Absolutely, straight into the void. And then we get this brilliant way that you have utilised the importance of the TV head, which you mentioned.
TV head was there, yeah.
A way to sort of have both heroes deliver the final blow. Jack with words, Zach with sword. It's very hard in a story, I can imagine, to ensure that two people get to hit the climax at the same time.
Yeah.
Because surely one's got to do it. But you managed it quite effectively here with layering narration over action.
I've said it before, but this was the most fun of anything I've ever written. It was an utter joy to write.
Immortality is something of a hard sell for the deceased. I mean, that's amazing.
And I think... Again,
and then this, I didn't get this, right? But that's the thing about art, it's all in the execution. And of course, he's heading to kill Requiem. When I read the script, I didn't see it. And then when I was drawing it, I was like, oh, that's hilarious. That's amazing. Only when the letters and the art come together that the joke is made. It's so clever.
I'm very proud of that. I've got to say, I'm so proud of everything we've achieved here. But I think it was such a rare, alignment of the planets and everything. It all worked. I think I'm so proud of it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was just beautiful. Zach gets to do literally slay the dragon, be the hero. But Jack takes a moment to rub salt into the wound.
And gets to gloat. Because that's what Jack does.
And it's like, anyone can win or lose. Bragging takes special effort. It's like...
Of course you'd say that. Oh, brilliant. So good.
And then, of course, we turn that page and Requiem learns true art.
Yeah.
And he sees Zack, and because Requiem wanted to create a masterpiece, finally got to witness a masterpiece.
Bravissimo. That's cool. It's very cool. And then Zack finds his way back to Melodia.
And we have that last heroic shot of him standing in Melodia watching the
portal close.
The portal close in the sky.
Which is cool. Very cool.
So we turn that page.
Indeed. And we enter into a section that wasn't originally going to be in it.
Yeah, no. Right? Here's some juicy backstage gossip.
Yeah.
This was added.
This was added.
This was added, yeah. So the last thing to be
Draft
written.
3.
Yeah. So here we have Requiem's death scene. Because the original plan was simply for, in the previous page, where we see Zack standing nobly in the ruins of the Kolopati mountain, simply Requiem would be dead at his feet. That was the plan. But then we figured, well, a lot has changed.
In the process of making this book, a lot changed with regards to where everything is going with regards to our universes and the creation of a multiverse.
Yes. And
we felt there needed to be a little bit hinting at what was to come.
It's funny, the Heavenly Chord marked the first time we'd worked together. And it was working with both our existing characters.
Of course.
We have since decided to go on and produce brand new material together. We're being a little bit cagey about this because we're trying to keep a bit of a mystique going. But based on what we now know as creators at this point, like seeing the conclusion of this story, and if you rewind 2 years ago to when we first had this idea and the script was first written, as Nich was saying, so much has changed, so much has grown. We needed to go and add these 2 scenes because there is a lot in this scene which hints at greater things to come.
And those things, a lot of them we have now established, worked out and planned, and we are able to write, or you at least were able to write dialogue in a scene that sufficiently harked at some of the stuff that's yet to come.
And little lines which were, again, we apologise for being quite so vague. If you're listening to this at the tail end of 2014, I imagine this will be a mystery to you. And we hope to keep you in that state of glorious intrigue and confusion. There will be more to come. But if you are re-listening to this at a later date, maybe tail end of 2015, maybe some of this will start to make sense.
Yeah.
But we have some big plans for the start of next year. And the Heavenly Chord was the fertile soil in which those grew.
That's absolutely right. That's a very good way of putting it as well.
You've become part of a much bigger world. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we deleted the scene when Nick Fury turns up at the end.
Yeah.
That was just we tried, but it just couldn't. Yeah.
It was just a flow thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Just ground it to a hole.
Maybe
really.
The next one.
But so then we have another line which is enigmatic and kind of weird, but it just makes sense. It was just one of those moments where, well, that just has to be how it is.
Yeah.
I was a bird once, now flown.
Yeah.
And what does it mean?
But remember it, guys.
And a sad thing, of course, because Zack now returns to his lonely pilgrimage to a world at war. That's the sad thing. I mean, like
it's not got any better for him.
He's kind of alone again. I think maybe both characters learned something from each other, but I guess they took away something a little sad as well, because Zack saw a group of people who fall out immensely,
but are like a family.
Yeah, and sadly he's alone.
So we turn over, and we're back on the Empyrean, hanging out with
epilogue material.
Indeed, Jack and Aykroyd.
Fat epilogue material, yeah. Now, I love, as I've said before many times in this commentary, I love those little moments of humanity. Those little moments where crazy stuff can be happening, but 2 characters, or handful of characters, can just take a moment to be people.
Yes.
So here we have backstage, behind the scenes in
deep in a vault of some kind.
Afterlife Inc. And we have Afterlife Inc.'s trophy room.
Yes.
Where they are collecting random junk. So as a little aside, we see some lovely little cabinets here. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of fun talking about what we might stick in some of these cabinets.
We absolutely did.
We have a complete set of power rings
from Green Lantern,
which was a nice little, which is why not. And And also a little shout out to our mutual friend Nicky Stew's comic. Thank
Herald
goodness
Outlet.
for Herald Outlet.
Absolutely.
Because we have one of the evil kind of shadow creatures, which I think are summoned by Bufu.
Yes, they're a sort of they're like offshoots of a sort of black evil forest spirit type thing. They're called chasers, I think.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And they sort of chase anyone who's trying to sort of bring an end to this evil's domination of the forest.
And if you haven't read it, I would track down Herald Outlet.
It's great. It's so sort of quirky, and it's got its own sort of rules and laws, and it's so much fun.
So if you're a fan of Samurai Jack,
yeah,
I think that incredible.
Yeah. Or like any of the sort of kids cartoon shows that just have a little bit more of an artist sensibility to them. You know, some of the more, because Samurai Jack's a brilliant example of a cartoon show that was actually made with a real sense of art involved. You know, a real let's make this really good.
It's staggering,
not just trashy cartoony crap. And Samurai Jack is great, and I think Nicky Stew's comic is the same flavour, the same thing it brings to the world, which is that sort of artistic craziness.
Lovely person as well, and I think
great.
When I was starting out in making Afterlife Inc, Nicky was very kind and offered me a lot of advice. So hats off to Nicky. So
I went to university with her. And
you did indeed.
She basically taught me. I always say she taught me comics, and she did in a way, in the sense that I always at that point I was pretty sure I wanted to draw comics, and she was already drawing them, and she's always been absolutely amazing at it, like far beyond me. I look up to her as my sensei, basically. And she sort of challenged me to this sort of alternate page by page sort of comics battle around our living room wall.
Oh, nice.
So I'd draw a page and she'd draw a page, and so we didn't know where the next would take the story.
You'd write yourself in the situation.
Exactly, yeah. And she had one character and I had one, and they were sort of fighting each other, and she would inevitably try and get the upper hand over mine. And I improved markedly from one page to the next. Actually, that forcing me to draw really improved my work. So I've got her to thank for that, basically. It's cool stuff.
Nicky, if you're listening,
we salute you.
We salute you. And yeah, so here we have Jack and Aykroyd, kind of past licking their wounds. I think Afterlife Inc needs a little time off now. We've had a desperate time.
Absolutely.
But
he's hoping there isn't another book.
Jack goes as far as to point out that it's been a pretty interesting day even for them. Aykroyd, of course, makes the point that once again, Afterlife Inc have been caught short.
Playing catch up.
They don't quite understand the true mysteries beneath their world.
No. And
given that this then leads into the events of Lifeblood, where once again dark mysteries at the heart of their world end up causing massive problems, it all ties into the fact that Afterlife Inc eventually decide to start shaping up a little bit and start to be more proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah.
But then we have, again, I love a good visual pun. I love a good play on words. And this was just another one of those kind of, I remember when we were first bouncing about ideas about what would it be in it, and I just suddenly had this moment where we have to have this ending.
Yeah.
And I think the whole reason Zack loses his weapon
is so we can do this.
Was just for this punchline.
Yeah.
So we turn that page.
Encore.
You talk about double meanings, hidden meanings. There you go.
Yeah.
And I bet you forgot about it, didn't you? Where was it? The tuning fork.
Yeah.
And there it is.
It just sort of gets left behind because you're used to seeing Zack carrying the 7-string, but it's still here.
And it kind of just sums up the whole message behind this, that it's not over.
No, it's not over.
That this is very much
and that it's happened. If I go back now into my world and a soloist goes on a pilgrimage to the top of the mountain to look for that tuning fork, it's not going to be there.
It's not going to be there.
Because it's here.
No, and I'd like to think that Jack's business card has survived.
Zack will have that.
That's on his inventory.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And After, I think, has a bit of cleaning up to do, but we've gained a bizarre musical weapon. And After, I think, Jack in particular is not one to let a resource go by.
No, not at all.
So that is the Heavenly Chord in its entirety.
It is indeed.
You are of course holding the graphic novel. So seeing as we're here, we should perhaps roll through some of these lovely special features.
Absolutely.
So we'll skip over the Heavenly Words because that's probably going to be rehashing some of the ground we've spoken over here. Indeed. That's just going to be a written discussion. We're going to chat a bit about the comic and our afterthoughts. But then we get to the gallery section.
Yeah.
Now, we obviously a bit of praise for Nicky Stew earlier. I guess
you'll see
extra double super praise to Nicky and all our wonderful friends.
Amazing.
Who contributed some incredible pin-ups.
It's worth saying that we basically just we picked these people to ask specifically for them to do art, and it was out of the kindness of their own hearts and their generosity that they did this.
They're all busy people, and they all
very busy.
Very
They've all
kindly...
got their own projects that they're working on. I think all of them are working on comics of their own.
And we could perhaps touch on some of them
absolutely.
as we go over, because we picked them because primarily we say pick them as if like we honoured them.
Yeah.
But no, it's more we picked them because we were all massive fans of their work.
And we wanted to see them draw our stuff.
And we would be honoured to have their stuff in the book.
Absolutely. It was very selfish from our perspective.
And then we went and asked them, and they very, very, very kindly stepped in to help out. So we are honoured, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So yeah, we'll enter the gallery.
Yeah, here we go.
So we'll turn that page. So now you should be seeing the first 2 pages of the gallery section.
Yeah.
Actually, with some art by Nich.
By me. Yeah.
So we have on the left
the original cover to part 1.
The original cover to part 1 from its floppy.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know you put a lot of work into.
I did. Spent a lot of drafts working out what that cover was going to be.
Getting both the elements in. I would have to say I know it's on the cover as well, but I do really like the Heavenly Chord logo.
Oh, thank you.
It's very, very nice.
Yeah, it took a few attempts, but I think I've hit something quite good there.
It's nice, and you got the heroic pose. You've got Lux looks really good. I'm a big fan of your depiction of Lux there.
Oh, thank you.
I love a little ribbon on her sword as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You added a bit of colour to that. It's like everyone brings a little something different to Lux, so then it kind of
she's like a patchwork.
Yeah. And of course, Requiem.
One of my first concept designs of Requiem.
Now, I'm going to put it out there. Not that I don't like the current design of Requiem, but I was always a very big fan of this design. I think because I kind of said like I have this mad idea for like a conductor.
Yeah. And
you just turned up with this, and I just thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I think what I wanted when I sort of settled on the final design was something that sort of harked to a conductor's outfit, but retained this sort of alien armor sort of look. And so this image was very important for establishing like what are the shapes that define a conductor's suit kind of thing. And I like to think enough of that has remained to keep his identity as very strongly as a conductor. But no, this was the first time I was like, I think I'm getting there with what he is.
Yeah. Well, the thing I found interesting about it was I knew he was going to be a drama queen.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to be completely unhinged.
Impresario.
And he filled this kind of space in my head, but he had no shape. He had no face yet.
No.
And you took those random utterances. I hadn't even written the script or anything.
No.
And you just came up with this.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
It's a very unusual face design.
And that's what struck me. And the fact that he appears to be on fire. Like he's this...
internally hot.
He was so chaotic in appearance. It kind of matched his mind. I was just like
influenced how you wrote him as well, I think. Yeah.
And I think it did. And I think you captured that wonderfully. And I love his pose more than anything, more than design. But the pose tells you so much about the character.
Oh, thank you very much.
So ultimately, he was
only a concept.
He served a purpose. The fact about Requiem is he was there. He had a thankless job, really. Yeah. He was there to be the bad guy that brought our worlds together and then get defeated.
Indeed.
But he had his brief moment in the limelight, and we salute you, Requiem.
Thank you. Sir.
So we'll turn that page. Now, interesting, some early...
Oh, this is old.
Early... Not a fan of your early...
No, I've improved a lot since these days, I think.
Well, that is true. You're constantly improving.
But, I mean, these images sort of served a very sort of early conceptual procedure. Basically.
I would not be ashamed of them. I would be. I wanted them in the book because I think they're awesome. I really like them, and I think you should be proud of them.
I am a bit proud of them.
Well, it's interesting that on the left we have probably the first ever piece of concept work you did for the series.
That's true.
Or the story.
And it's Zach in his Volume 1 outfit as well, which is important.
Which is interesting.
He's not wearing that.
He looks like a different guy.
Yeah,
because your art is always evolving and changing and it's improving.
Thank you.
Because every time I see your artwork, I'm just kissing your ass now, but I legitimately thought it's really good. Like I've always loved your artwork, and then I think we couldn't possibly get any better. And then you see it again, like a few months down the line, you're like, oh, he got better. I love it. He's peaked. He's never going to get better. And then you do it again.
Too kind, sir.
It's true though, and it's interesting. Like some of the little things here, like just because from a design perspective, like. They're a very good Jack, I think. Purple shoes.
Yeah, I gave them some really sort of fancy Melodian style
shoes. They are
shoes,
7-string style shoes. And it's like, for the purposes of crossover and fusing both worlds, I would have no issue if those shoes had...
To be honest, that's the thing I like the most about that drawing, are his shoes.
They are funky shoes, yeah.
Recycle those shoes.
I think I've joked about it, but I think kind of like fashion designing lost an expert when you turn to comics, because like the shoes and like Zach's weird sort of trouser shoes.
Yeah. I'd like coming up with more original sort of outfits and clothing items for my characters to wear.
I think you talked about the idea that potentially long term Zach may change his outfit like every season.
Yeah.
Or kind of a bit like
I've already designed his volume 3.
Oh, have you?
Costume.
You sly dog.
Yeah, it's gonna be different again.
Yeah, keep that.
I might show you actually.
Yeah, you should do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something for when the mic isn't rolling.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no.
And then the THC image.
The Heavenly Chord.
Yeah, I didn't really know where that came from. I think it was sort of spitballing ideas for a cover again and just sort of messing about.
I always got a little vibe of like Astro Boy, or kind of like
I remember you saying at the time when I
this
sent
one,
it to you. Yeah, it sort of had a sort of 80s manga thing going on.
But it's interesting because this concept work came later.
Yeah.
But of course we see it's already getting closer to how it eventually turned out. Like we have Jack holding the 7-string, of course. The tuning fork is now present.
Yeah.
Zach wearing his new costume.
Indeed.
It's like an evolution of the character.
It is, yeah.
You certainly see the difference of Zach from Volume 1 of 7-string, his old costume,
yeah.
which is a great costume in itself. But now,
like
it's nice that the character is growing.
Yeah, always changing. Turn that page. Now, here we go.
Now, this was something special.
It was very special.
Bit of scene setting. We were at
Melksham
2013, launching part 1,
and
to date, probably one of my best, my most enjoyable Comic-Con experiences ever.
Absolutely.
We're big fans of Melksham Comic-Con. We've been there since the beginning, and all credit to Melksham people. They treated us like royalty.
They did. That
show. For a day, we got to feel as big and as important as any
superstars.
Yeah, Melksham really opened its arms to us, both as like a con, a community, a town, and we got to feel like rock stars for the day. And we launched for Heavenly Chord. We did an amazing panel, which I'm told still was the most attended panel of the day.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, cool.
People laughed, they cried, they were violently ill. It was fantastic fun. And then to cap it all off, our good friends, who I guess we kind of knew them a little bit at the time. They've become much better friends since. Vince Hunt and Sean Doby, two good friends, surprised us completely out of the blue with 2 framed pieces of fan art,
just as a gift.
And
they came to our table and they just handed them to us.
And I still have a picture of Jack hanging. Oh yeah, and Nich has just pointed to the picture of Zach hanging on the wall. I still have a picture of Jack hanging by my work desk at home. They're very, very cool.
Yeah.
So this is Vince's pencils.
Yeah.
And Vince is the genius and has since launched his own comic.
Indeed.
The Red Mask from Mars.
Which is very cool.
A lot of fun, actually. Yeah. You want to talk about good design? Check out The Red Mask from Mars.
Yeah.
Great
character.
Just very simple, clean design.
Absolutely.
Lots of fun. And Dobes, to his friends, and to you now, has coloured these images.
Yeah.
And Dobes has also recently launched his own comic called Descending Outlands, which is very, very cool. And I remember having the privilege of Dobes sharing some of the early story thoughts.
I remember I saw some of the early concept art. Yeah, I haven't actually picked up a copy yet.
I have a copy.
I need to find this Melksham Comic Con, of course. So.
Great kind of like a space opera vibe. Yeah. And that's Dobes both colouring and writing. Yeah, yes. They are a talented pair. They are very funny guys.
It was a very, very awesome gift to receive on the day of what was a big day for Heavenly Chord, for the launch of Part 1, for then us to receive essentially fan art on that same day and framed. Really, really finished off the day.
We joked about it, but we felt like kings that day. And thank you guys for making us feel so undeservedly special that day, I would say. And of course, there are some Led Zeppelin quotes here. And they are very fitting. Buying a Stairway to Heaven, and the song remains the same.
Very cool.
Funky as hell. So cheers, guys. So let's turn that page. Now, 2 leading ladies here. On the left, we have the amazing Danny Abrams.
Yeah.
Who blew our minds with this little.
I can't put it into words. Like, I just love it. I love it so much. She was saying in the email about how she was struggling with coming up with, what idea she really wanted to encompass these 2 worlds coming together.
Because bless her, she put so much thought into it. She wanted it to be...
Yeah. And then she said that this one was just a really random idea, and she decided to just roll with it. And it's completely crazy. I mean, they're kids and they're hanging out at Christmas together.
And they're both getting the worst presents. And like Jack gets a bow tie
and Zach gets the 7-key keyboard. But I mean, it's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. I love it. I love it so much. I never even thought about them as little kids, and Jack getting a bow tie is just genius.
Well, and it's just wonderful to see how our daft little crossover could inspire something so offbeat and wonderful. And I
think this sort of image sums up exactly what's so great about fan art is an artist taking very existing designs and universes and playing with them in a way that looks different. It's like when someone goes, "Oh, I'm going to do a steampunk Dalek." Do you know what I mean? The Dalek is so ingrained in people's minds, but then they can do a spin on it. And that's exactly what Danny's done for us here, and it's such a compliment for her to take our characters and do something so fresh with them.
Yeah.
And I'm just over the moon about it.
I
absolutely love it.
I actually love Jack's big golden eyes as well. Because again, you talk about
an adorable kid.
You talk about characters evolving. Like Ash drew Jack with golden eyes, and it's a very subtle thing in that Lost issue we did. When Jack is alive, he has blue eyes, and then when he dies, he has golden eyes. And I never put that in the script, and it is so cool.
It's really cool, yeah.
And it's so cool. It's entered into lore now. So
what I like is that all of my characters don't ever have eye colours. I never draw eye colours on my characters. They always just have black pupils and a white eye. And so Danny's added purple eyes for Zach, which is perfect.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And also, Zach looks grumpy. Even though he's unwrapping the Christmas presents, he's still grumpy.
He's not happy. Bless it. So, Danny, thank you.
Outstanding.
And of course, Danny and Ian are responsible for
artist and writer, respectively,
of Razorhawk, another very cool comic out there on the UK indie comic scene. So
yeah, check it out.
Track them down and offer them some thanks. And of course, Danny, as a solo project, to great and well-deserved acclaim recently.
Yes.
Successfully collected, printed, launched, and sold out of Worrywart.
Yes.
Which is an autobiographical comic.
Very personal, very honest, and very, very inspiring, actually.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
And I know you contributed some fan art to that.
I did. I was honoured for her. She asked me to produce a sort of pin-up splash page for the back of it, which was really, really humbling of her actually to ask for me for that, because I know it's a very big personal project for her, and so to be asked to be part of that was a very big deal.
I know, and it is a wonderful comic about the realities of dealing with anxiety and stress and health issues, and Danny, I think, did a wonderful job of actually vocalising some of that.
She really did.
I think she surprised herself at how kind of the amazing response to it and how inspirational it had been. It was inspirational to me as well. I have to say, she
very, very special.
Hats off to her. Yeah, quite amazing. So thank you, Danny.
Definitely.
So now on to Nikki again, who we completely sung the praises of earlier.
Yeah, she's the creator of Thank Goodness for Herald Outlet. And
when you see something as awesome as this, it's fair. You can see why she deserves that praise, because we have a truly, I'm going to overuse the word awesome, but an amazing pin-up in her unique style.
I love it so much. I love her sort of monstery style. She sort of monsterizes things, but still keeps that humanity in there as well. And I love how, Jack's got this sort of like scared of ghosts thing going on, even though he's like he rules over on Afterlife essentially. And Zach is still grumpy. Brilliant. I love it.
Zach looks so. I love little chibi badass Zach.
Yeah.
In that panel, he just looks so. He'll mess you up.
He will, but he's still quite little.
And also, nice little subtle thing. There are reaction lines, emanata, about around the tie.
Oh yeah, the tie is sort of alive.
The tie is alive.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. So there we go.
Outstanding. I love it. Oh, I absolutely love it. I could stare at that for ages. I might have to make that my desktop background actually.
So let's we turn that page.
Turn that page.
Now to the biggest, most amazing double act in comics today.
Mark Pierce and James State.
Two guys who I'm just a raving fanboy for both their work.
I would just buy the crap out of anything they make.
So on the left we have Mark Pierce.
Yeah.
Who has words can't really
how cool he's made both of our characters. Like,
this is the album cover.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
this is how
for the soundtrack.
It's got this kind of slight like Reservoir Dogs kind of rock star.
Badass.
I imagine like as future plans come to fruition, this image could be expanded.
Yeah,
and you could have other characters working along. It is. Zach looks amazing, kind of channeling a bit of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, I was going to say Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop there. Yeah, definitely the big hair and
Jack just looks as cool as anything.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, because obviously Mark and James work together a lot. They
do.
Together.
They produce their own. They exhibit together, like in shows and things. But they produce their own separate comics.
Mm-hmm.
But then they always exhibit them together on their sort of same table.
Mm-hmm.
So they've become sort of known as a double act. But actually, I think they have collaborated.
Mm-hmm.
But they have. Mark has his Ronin Dogs, and James has Big Jimmy and various other things as well.
They always kind of support and promote each other and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So they are a double act.
And really nice guys as well. I mean, Mark has contributed to Afterlife Inc before.
Yes.
He did one of my favourite ever stories about Nuriel filling out a job satisfaction form.
Love it.
People still love that story.
It's really
and like the energy he kind of brings to the panels. And his comic Ronin Dogs is very, very funny.
It's so cool.
Really action-packed, very funny. And it's interesting that the two of them both independently arrived at a similar kind of vibe in their pin-ups. Like, because as we jump across to James State's piece of work, channeling 80s
buddy cop movies. So good. I love how it's on a DVD box.
Yeah.
And it's like their best mates or something.
Why does that movie not exist?
It needs to exist.
It's just fantastic. I love his version of Jack.
Yeah.
I love his hair and his those powerful eyebrows.
See the eyebrows.
Always the eyebrows, yeah.
Very important.
It's like words can't really do either of them justice.
There's no need. You can just just drink it in. Drink it in.
As a nice little bit of enigmatic future storytelling. One of the projects which is spun out of
Heavenly Chord,
of which we're being frustratingly vague about, does involve James.
Yes.
James State, and he is providing wondrous art wizardry for that, and we look forward to unveiling that.
I've seen some of that, and it is
tight, pretty damn good. So thank you guys, and of course James has, I think, done one of the funniest comics ever committed to paper in Now We Are Running.
Oh yes,
which is I was rereading again the other day. This had me in absolute stitches. He's some kind of art wizard, Nick. He's some kind of wizard.
A special man.
So thank you guys.
All right, turning over.
Turn that page. Two very different ones here.
Very different, yeah.
Do you want to talk about the left one?
Let's talk about Jess Bradley first.
Let's talk about Jess Bradley, yeah.
This was the pin-up I was most excited about getting. I think.
I think that's no disrespect to everyone else.
No. Because I think as it's come out the fact that I love all of these the same.
Yeah.
But the one I was most looking forward to, most sort of I don't know, just like Christmas Day sort of like anticipation. That's the word I'm looking for. Was to see Jess's inimitable cute style.
Jess Bradley was my first ever con. As exhibiting with Afterlife Inc, she was my neighbour.
Yeah.
First time I met her. She, incredible. I mean, like, I'm speechless. Like, we just love her art style.
Yeah. I've been her neighbour twice at cons now. And every time it's a pleasure, and she's just outstanding.
Working on kids' books, working on her own stuff, working on the Phoenix.
She gets so much work, and she's just so busy all the time, and you can see why.
It's adorable, and also incredibly funny.
Yeah,
like both in person and like her
great
comics.
Sense of humour.
So we were really, really excited about seeing like our characters through the filter of Jess Bradley's unique worldview.
Yeah,
and this is just we were dead chuffed about this.
Really chuffed with that.
I love Zach's face.
Yeah,
it's like the happiest we've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely the happiest we've ever seen. Although saying that, this Zach on the right, drawn by the incredible Ash Jackson, who is your artist on Afterlife Inc.
My boy,
sort of prime artist.
Now the sad fact is, of course, that Ash lives in America, and we've never had the pleasure of meeting him in person.
No.
My relationship working with Ash has been entirely kind of internet based, but Ash has been instrumental in bringing Afterlife Inc. to life. Like, my stories wouldn't be worth a damn if they didn't look good, and like people would never give my stories a try if Ash's amazing art didn't lure them in. And like people love his artwork, and Ash, if you're listening, people want to meet you in the UK.
Yeah, come over here.
Let's make that happen.
You can sleep on our sofas, respectively.
Yeah. We'll cut you in half. But no, so Ash... of course, Ash also did, as we mentioned earlier,
that double-page
spread. So he returned to the character of Zach. Mm-hmm. And that's just pretty awesome.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's pretty awesome.
I love it.
I think he was probably sick of drawing After. I think he wanted...
I just wanted to draw Zach, which is fair enough, because Zach's better.
He's much better character.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ash.
Well done, man.
Spin on. Now, here we have the Tempest brothers.
Yes.
Now, an obscenely talented family.
Yeah.
It's actually very frustrating. And they all have the coolest name, the coolest surname.
Tempest.
It's so badass. Like, I remember I was talking to my dad once and I was saying how, like, I was working with... and Jack Tempest, of course, I've often considered to be the second artist of Afterlife Inc.
Second defining.
After Ash, no one has contributed to Afterlife Inc more... Well, I guess you have now, probably.
I suppose now I have.
You've probably, in terms of page count, but yeah, but... Jack, I think, is an incredible talent. I've always loved his art, and he's been a frequent on and off contributor of mine since book one, and I think his work is stupendous. And he said himself he always feels drawn to the villains.
So that shows from.
We see a truly terrifying rendition of
terrifying.
Requiem, which is. Like beautiful.
Seems like a sort of Guillermo del Toro monster, doesn't it?
Oh my life, it's like the Pale Man or something. It's, just,
it's excellent. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love his take on his costume. I love his take on the conductor wand. Everything about it sort of brings it to some sort of horrendous macabre life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like I love it.
It's just beautiful, and a interesting to shine a light on an area which not many people would. And I think we've seen a lot of Jack and Zach, and it's nice about Requiem.
Because this is the only Requiem.
It is indeed, yeah. And we mentioned it with James earlier. Another project, because we're keeping busy.
We are.
Another project which has sprung off
of
Heavenly Chord does involve Jack.
It does.
Quite intimately. So you'll be seeing a lot more of his art in an associated Big Punch product soon. So thank you, Jack.
Yeah, awesome stuff, Jack. And then his brother.
Yeah, from one Tempest to another, we now have Will Tempest, who is again another contributor to Afterlife Inc.
Mm-hmm.
Worked on book one.
Mm-hmm.
Returned for book two. Then took a bit of a break and recently provided art for the Ever There, which was a brand new digital release or a short Afterlife Inc story.
Mm-hmm.
And Will is a tour de force of art. He has worked for Image recently on their title Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's just fantastic. So, of course, Will returning to that iconic moment, the moment that started it all,
the
really.
Defining element, and therefore a really great way to end the gallery section.
True story. And of course, we have the eponymous 7-string with Jack's tie.
Love it.
Tied around it. That could be the alternate cover.
Yeah,
down the line. Yeah.
I really like that actually. Yeah, just that as a sort of two objects that define both of the characters is really special.
Simple, it's iconic. Yeah, dead chuff. So thank you guys. So yeah, then we have some shameless self-promotion.
Absolutely, as always.
Talk a little bit about the Afterlife Inc. And 7-string books already out there. So if you want to get the full story,
get involved.
Check them out. Check out our websites. And we turn the final page, and
you're faced with the enigmatic "I was a bird once"
and a single solitary feather. And what could it mean? And
what could it mean?
We're not going to tell you, but
no, we're not.
Keep watching this space, and
there's going to be some awesome stuff next year.
And I would say the biggest thing to take away from all of this is not just that we had an awesome adventure, but off the back of this, Nick and I, myself and Nick, have formed Big Punch Studios.
Absolutely.
Which you'll see the logo plastered all over this book. The Heavenly Chord is the first full Big Punch Studios production. Entirely unique work from the two of us. You'll be seeing a lot more of that in the future. The Heavenly Chord opened doors to incredible new ideas. In 2015, it's going to be a very big year for everything we have planned.
Absolutely. It's so exciting.
And it all kind of began here with the Heavenly Chord.
So what you have in your hands. Yeah.
So keep watching the skies and keep an eye out for the Big Punch logo. Yes. Every time you see that on a book, you know
that it's connected in some way. It's affiliated and yeah, is part of what Heavenly Chord has started. It's all part of that.
Indeed. So we have reached the end of the book.
Yeah.
Nick, was there anything you wanted to say in kind of conclusion?
Not any more than, what has basically already been said, and that it's been a pleasure to go back over it with you and to sort of, because obviously we worked at a distance from each other, at our own computers, and sort of a lot of it was by email. So to sit down and both go through something has really brought a lot of sort of finement and closure to what is actually discovered to be a very big project for both of us, really.
I don't think either of us rather, anticipated quite how big it would be.
No. And so this has really sort of brought it home to... So what a big deal it was, and I'm very proud of what we've achieved. I'm very, very proud, and I really hope that if you have it in your hands and you're listening to this, that you that you really enjoyed it, because that's really what we did it for. We did it for entertaining you guys.
It meant a hell of a lot to us, and I think time will show just how much it meant to both of us, and how much it's changed both our careers and what we're going to do off the back of this.
Indeed.
And we hope some of that excitement and love funneled back into what you have in your hands now, and thank you for buying it.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, we hope you enjoy, and we hope you've enjoyed our works.
Signing off.
Goodbye.